excellent to be here. What a crowd, what a slush. So I'm so happy to spend a little time with you. So we'll just kind of spending time so that we'll get the real results out from the jury. So my name is Riku Asikainen. I'm the founder of FIBA, Finnish Business Angels, and I'm very happy to have excellent investors with me. So Jason from Qualcomm Ventures, and then John Lindfors, who is actually a Finn living in Asia. So John, if we start with you and yesterday's news from China, what do you have for us?
Perhaps not all of you recognize that yesterday was a very particular day in China, the so-called Singles Day, 11/11, 11th of November. And actually in previous years, it has been a topic that I have touched upon when I've been here at Slush. And we were just talking before coming up here that it's actually a pretty extraordinary event. And actually hot off the press, I have the latest data, both from Alibaba and from a few other firms. And I'll just reel off a few pieces of data points. And then I think that I'll try to give you some color as to what is really sort of the takeaway and the relevance of that. So first of all, Alibaba had $14.3 billion of gross merchandise volume in one day yesterday. 14.3 billion. And there's probably another 1.7 billion in the whole of China for, let's say, 16 billion. To put that number in context, on US Cyber Monday, which is the Monday after Black Friday, around Thanksgiving when people normally go online to find the bargains after Black Friday, that was around $2 billion last year. So here we're talking about an event in China which is 8 times bigger than what you have in the US.
Yeah.
Also, another interesting thing is that it was more than 60% up on last year. And when I was here 3 years ago, actually at the old Kaapelitehdas venue, it was $3 billion in China. So $3 billion has basically gone to $16 billion in 3 years.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, so the scale is absolutely enormous in that market. A couple of other data points which I thought were quite interesting. In the first hour, i.e. from midnight on the 11th to 1 a.m. in the morning, there were 117 million transactions. 170 million transactions. You know, put that in context, 1.4 billion people, a significant percentage of the population was up at that time of the evening.
Look, we have Inka coming, yeah.
Hey, good to see you. To make transactions. And the peak was 69,000 transactions per second. So a couple of other takeaways. I think that what it does tell you is the massive scale of the Chinese market. And I think that the relevance for European companies is that I think that entrepreneurs and company leaders should really think about globally about the opportunity. You have the benefit of being on iOS platforms, on Android platforms. You can access billions of people globally. I think that this is obviously partly something that Rovio and Supercell have clearly taken advantage of.
Yes, yes.
Just going out and getting all of those users.
Yeah. I asked John to come up with these numbers, so we are not going to have so long pointers afterwards. But those are just extraordinary numbers. Could we have a mic for Inka as well? I think she's missing one, and I don't like to leave her without, she's not going to stand quiet for a long time. So how should we take that Asian opportunity? We are now in Helsinki, it's at least 8 hours from here to Asian markets. So how do we grab that? Do you have anything on that, Jason? How do you see it from Qualcomm?
Sorry, what?
Like how do we get
there? Hear you.
How could we utilize the opportunity, the Asian really fast-growing markets opportunity? How should we get the best out of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on from whose perspective. So I mean, for us, Qualcomm is a very large U.S. company, very large chipset company. For those of you who don't know us, and we set up a team in the U.S. back in 2000, and we have a team on the ground now in China, co-investors in Xiaomi. India, Brazil, Israel, Korea. I'm here in Europe. I think that we've taken a kind of a global view to expanding out.
So do you think that that's more important? Should we also only have a global view? Or is it really, could we think about Asian markets alone. So Inka has a great case from Finland called Indoor Atlas, which is indoor positioning thing with the Chinese. Maybe you can share a little bit of the Indoor Atlas case with us, Inka.
Yeah, so Indoor Atlas was founded 2012. It was a spin-out of Oulu University, providing an indoor positioning based on magnetic field detection, but it's a cloud platform, very using the magnetic as a basis. We see Asia really driving the market. It might be because of the urban infrastructures, that kind of a very intensive mobile usage, but also the fact that the advertising use cases are very different in Asia. We also saw that the first demo customers were coming from there. We saw a lot of developer activity and mapping activity and fingerprinting happening in Asia. And then eventually, big partnerships being taken place. So Biden invested into the company, now Escape Planet, now we're expanding to Japan.
Yeah. And that seems to be happening, that the Asian investors also, they come to Europe to grasp some of the technical talent, if you like. In the opening of Slush, Niklas Stenström said that this is the best time ever to be an entrepreneur. You know, having been in Slush for 2 or 3 days, and some of us even 3 nights, do you agree? Is this the best time of the ever to be an entrepreneur? What do you say?
Well, I can go first. I think that it's for sure in Europe. I think that there's no doubt that Niklas is right. I think that we have had an ecosystem which has had a long time. You know, it's taken a long time for this ecosystem to develop. You know, obviously it started really in the mid-90s. But I think that, you know, now you have a combination of great entrepreneurs, great success stories across Europe. You know, five 1 billion plus companies in Sweden, you know, 1 in Finland, you know, a number of others across Europe. And I think that you have sort of a proper investor network from seed investors, angel investors, VCs, late-stage investors, and the public market and M&A market, you know, providing exit opportunities. So I think that there's no doubt that Europe has come an enormously long way in the last 5 to 10 years. Obviously, the US has been there for a long time, and I think that China was probably 5 to 7 years ahead of Europe, just by virtue of having one massive market. I think that the fact of the matter is that still, you know, the challenge for many European companies is, you know, we're talking about, you know, nearly 30 countries in Europe, depending on how you define it. But I think that it's certainly getting better.
Here.
And I would agree with Niklas's assertion.
Yeah. Jason,
so,
you agree?
Yeah, so I
disagree
actually,
now. Say that it's the worst time ever, you know. Don't, you know.
I actually think that Slush itself is probably one of the greatest indicators of how Europe has really evolved in the last few years.
Did you hear that?
No, seriously, the first time I came to this is my 5th time here, all of Slush was this area.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the stands and where you're sitting, there were maybe 500 people here.
Maybe, Jason, you just haven't been in places and you just think that this is great. Maybe if you would travel and see places, you would...
Look, this is 15,000 people. This is the best conference in Europe, period, hands down.
That's what I say.
I mean, look at this.
Yep.
It's amazing, you know? And I think that, I mean, Helsinki is producing some world-class companies, world-class investors. And when I came the very first time, it was a fledgling place.
Yeah.
And my, how it's grown up.
Yeah, yeah. Inka, we know you're from here, so you love it, but yeah.
I just love Slush. To found a company and find a new investor, I think it's the best time ever, but still it could be better in Scandinavia. I think it's best time ever, like in Berlin and in London. So still we could have more like super serial seed investors or VCs who invest into completely new companies. So, and we don't need to go into the numbers in this respect. So I kind of think that now the talent is there and the attitude is there and the ambition is there. Now we need a bit more kind of experienced investors even more to the market.
Yeah. So we have all invested in tens of companies. So one new aspect that I think that this year's Slush was really good at was the investor to investor meeting. That it was possible, you know, all the setting and everything. It was really easy to meet up with, you know, even the biggest investors. smaller investors. It was just well organized. So how do you see the importance of meeting other investors and kind of local, international, different scale investors in one place?
Well, I think that it's super important, actually. And just sort of thinking about my own schedule over the last 36 hours here, probably 70% has been spent just with other investors.
Yeah.
And especially for late-stage investors, to a certain degree, it doesn't really make sense to spend a huge amount of time with startups. What you really want to do is have that investor-to-investor dialogue.
Yeah.
And I think that for the ecosystem to develop, you do need to have investors at the different stages. So if there's more communication between investors and also between corporates, because I think that it's super important to also get the corporates here
Exactly.
to understand what are the interesting companies, what are the interesting trends, also for them to get to know investors at different stages, partly for their own perhaps M&A ambitions and growth ambitions. So I think that really is sort of a critical part, and I think that that's probably one of the big changes that we've seen in Slush over the last few years.
Yeah.
And it was very startup and early stage investor focused in the beginning.
Yep.
And I think that now you have sort of the whole gamut of different investors represented here.
And that's maybe something for the startups and the entrepreneurs here, that they should also understand how the ecosystem works on that way, that it really makes sense to find good local investors as well, because that's really the way to get to the bigger rounds. Like for instance in the Inka's case, where she got paid to invest in the company. But maybe from the Qualcomm Ventures point of view, Qualcomm is obviously a big multinational company. So how are you doing it, just personally? Like is it really a venturing arm, or is it a part of the M&A projects for Qualcomm?
For us, no. We're only doing.
Is Jason's mic on?
Yep. Am I? Yeah. We're only doing venturing. So I mean, we write $250K checks all the way up to $10 or $20 million checks. So it's a very, very wide range of check sizes that I write. Here in Finland, I've made 2 investments. One in Grand Cru. This is a multi-million-dollar investment. And then one into a company called Bitbar, which is an Android testing platform.
Yep.
And that's several €100,000 check. So very different sizes.
Yeah.
But back to your first question around interacting with other investors.
Yep.
So startups always, people ask me, where does your deal flow come from?
Yeah.
And it comes from 2 primary sources, the deals that actually get done.
Yeah.
Either it's come from another investor. Hey, Jason, I've looked at this. I think you should talk to them. So this is number 1. And number 2, from other entrepreneurs.
Yep.
That have said, hey, I think this is an exciting company. I like the technology. I like the team, whatever it is. I think that you would really like what they're doing. You two should talk.
Yeah.
So having a chance to talk to, at least on the investor side, a dedicated area, this is immensely helpful.
Yeah.
And as well, for me, I kind of understand our place in the ecosystem. I'm probably not going to write the seed check here, but when it's a $2 million round and you're looking to expand, then it makes sense for me to come in and participate. DST coming in, even the next step in the stage for further expansion. And
exactly. Yeah, and I think we have really succeeded on this, and I think 250 venture companies in Slush this year. In the 0 day, investor day, we had 400 people on the early stage investors, so angels. Those are impressive numbers in kind of even globally speaking. So for Inka, maybe a little bit smaller investments than Qualcomm, but do you see the same path that you get introduced by other investors and then co-founders?
Well, absolutely. Angel investors particularly. So I think the great thing in Slush is that there are actually quite a lot of angels. So, and these can be serial entrepreneurs or like multi-company angels or whatever. And they bring you a great set of deal flow. Other set of deal flow is from the entrepreneurs, as you know. Maybe in the seed and early stage where we focus into, of course, it's great to see, the pitching competition, or not the competitions necessarily, but more like in these events like this, you have this whole database of companies you can kind of go through and see that, okay, this is what the world looks like. Because from a Scandic Baltic focused investor point of view, the world is still a bit different than from Qualcomm, because I'm sure that your deal flow is completely on a different scale.
Yeah, yeah. So nothing is perfect, you know. What could we do about the European, you know, Thomas Hendrik Ilves, a great president of Estonia, was here yesterday and said that, look, the biggest problem with Europe is that we don't have a single market, that we have 26 or 35 small different markets. So what could we do about that? You know, I know we are investors, we can't change the policies and certainly take down the borders, but what could we do on the single market issue, on the global perspective?
So I'll tell you one thing that I would love to see more prevalent in Europe. Tech is. I am one of the biggest. I feel like I should work for the Finnish Finnish ministry, but seriously, tech is it's amazing. As an external investor, I have.
I guess you should pay him. You know.
Seriously, they're awesome.
Yeah.
You know, the companies that I've put equity into, they're providing loans to help, you know, for R&D, etc. And last year when I was here, I was lucky enough to sit down with the Prime Minister, and I said, you know, hey, this is such a fantastic program that you're doing, and I really wish that other European countries would catch on and do that. It's been a fantastic success and supports really early stage companies.
Yeah, yeah. I'm certainly agree with you that I think that Tekes is part of the Finnish startup ecosystem miracle that they are doing it, but it's also a little bit frustrating to think that with that, you know, this is a private sector initiative, and then do we really need, you know, what about if we could somehow take the single market initiative? Wouldn't that be a much stronger message to the entrepreneurs that the opportunities are bigger? Do you have a take on that?
So one approach could be having kind of a standardization on taxation relating to private investments from wealthy individuals that you know, triple, double, whatever the amount of private capital, get it going. Israel has done it, for example. Other area could be helping on the, let's say, particularly like Finland, on the startup working visas, you know, getting really super talent to specific location, their families, all of that. And maybe third could be helping in terms of a standardization, like, you know, enabling one digital European market. Let's talk about, for example, just roaming costs. So, you know, how those have impacted the use of various digital services.
Yeah. So we are approaching our final 5 minutes on the stage, and I think we almost have the decision ready. Hopefully, there is no smoke yet from back. So. Where should Slush go? You know, what should we do next? You know, now we have been growing, like we have all witnessed it. You know, it's a great story, top of the world. I have been calling this you know, it's like a tennis. This is Wimbledon, or maybe this is Australian Open. Slush is one of the top 4 events. What could be done better? What would you do from your perspective?
Well. You know, I'm not an organizer, I'm just a participant, but I think that my observation would probably be that the size of this event, I'm not sure if it would make sense to sort of grow this event here in Helsinki. I think that a 2-day event, you know, we're 15,000 people here. I'm not sure if it really makes sense to go to 20 or 25 or whatever the number is. I think that the size is actually pretty good, and you wanna, if it becomes too big, you know, it makes it difficult to actually meet people, and sort of, I think that you lose a little bit of the serendipity that you try to engender here at this conference. But I think that Slush has already started, you know, exporting the idea. You know, so you know, they had the event in Japan earlier on this year. They had the event in Beijing roughly a month ago, and I think that that's something that makes a ton of sense. Also, to provide global connectivity for some of the investors that come here, you know, to also go to other parts of the world. Same thing for, you know, the startups or perhaps the slightly more developed companies to also, you know, use Slush as a way to, you know, to also sort of spread their wings and see other parts of the world. And I think that that's something that I see sort of really being a very natural extension. And given that you're obviously absolute masters in organizing this, of course you're going to do a good job in other places as well. So I think that, you know, in my view, you know, to sort of summarize, I think that it's absolutely the right thing to sort of try to go global and do it in a smart way and utilize all of the learnings that you've had here in Helsinki.
Yeah. Could we do this in London? Slush London takes
No,
over London. Wimbledon, you know.
No.
Wembley.
So my view is, it's actually kind of a plea to the entrepreneurs in the room. When people are growing their companies, they expand globally. In most cases, that means moving the headquarters to the US.
Yep.
And there's a lot of talent drain, and there's a lot of brain drain that leaves. I've been living and working in Europe for 16 years and investing in London for 10. And one of the things that I always ask is, you know, if you feel like you can grow your business better in a different location, that's fine. But when you sell the company, go home or come back and contribute to the local economy, whether that's being an angel investor or a mentor or setting up your next business here or never moving HQ somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much critical mass and talent now that I can kind of see that companies are staying. And that's one thing I would kind of encourage entrepreneurs in the room to do is stay. There's plenty of capital here on the couch with me.
Yeah.
Don't go.
John has all of it, so when he is here, we have plenty, but then you know, when he flies away, then it's...
So that's my Christmas wish.
Yeah. Good. Yesterday, I'm letting you to speak English, but yesterday we had the Prince of Sweden here, and I heard that he was saying that, you know, why don't we have anything like this in Stockholm? So could we have it in Stockholm? Should we move to Stockholm for the clear skies?
The classic question, like, should we have this in our country?
Yeah.
Scandinavia and Baltics are too small of a region to compete, so actually all of these events that we have in the region should work together.
Yep.
But to the Slush, firstly, let's not lose the spirit, you know, all the volunteers, the students, you know, the ambition, the feeling, the parties, that's what makes Slush Slush.
Yeah.
But also the intimacy. So let's not grow, because this is the only place where you can kind of say, hi, Chris, and do you have 5 minutes, and let's go for a coffee. And you might even go for a coffee with me, you know, if I would, you know, be very enthusiastic. But maybe we could grow on the substance. Like, you know, have a CTO side event, CTOs talking about how they build monetization platforms. Maybe we could have a service design side event. So Slush has really grown around side events, and one of the great things I want to mention is Junction. So the hackathons that we've been arranging prior to Slush, like, you know, 500 developers coming from 30 different countries around the world. So I think we have a great opportunity to, you know, have like 5,000 coders next year. Just make it worthwhile, bring the corporates and so forth. So in a way, Slush itself, what it is as of today, shouldn't kind of try to expand into too big.
Yeah.
By the way, let me add one thing. I'm not an advocate of doing other slushes in Europe. I don't think that makes any sense. You know, it's from the most distant corner of Europe, it's a 3-hour flight. So of course you keep it, for Europeans, you keep it in Europe.
But Riku has promised to do a Slush with me in Africa.
Yes, of course.
That's another story.
Yeah. It's a different story, but we are going to do it. So, okay, we are reaching our time limit. Thank you very much. I think that what Inka, to summarize everything what we had, I think the great thing about Slush is the energy, it's the volunteers, it's the feeling, it's the intimacy, you know, all these nice things. It's one of a kind in that sense, and really the globe is, you know, getting smaller. Literally, it's right here, and you can really meet any level of investors. All level of investors can meet each other. All of the entrepreneurs, they come to Helsinki today from far away to meet the best talent, recruitment, you know, all this. So yeah, thanks a lot for this small chat.